I said yesterday after the game and now today looking at the tape, there were a lot of good things to draw from. It was a good team we played and, certainly a good win in the division. So any questions?
Can you explain Patrick Robinson's delay of game penalty on that fourth down?
Yeah, my take on it, it used to be defensively, you guys would remember defensive players trying to move maybe and draw a lineman off sides, and the same thing can apply. Happened a lot in the kicking game 10 years ago when teams lined up to punt or kick field goals where, periodically a defensive lineman would try to jump. And, when you extend out to a hold-up player on the punt unit and you're getting ready to block a gunner, the same thing. The call is a little unique in that it's called delay a game, but that's the penalty. That you're not allowed defensively to try to do that.
There was a game last year, Sean, where Chris Ivory had some great runs, and you spoke after the game about how that sort of has a ripple effect with the team. It could be inspirational. I thought Pierre had some runs like that.
Yeah.
Is there any carryover to that, or is that only?
No, I think Jim, last year there's a game specifically in Tampa where Chris probably had one of his career best games. I think there's always a residual or carryover effect when you're running the ball efficiently and for real good yardage. Pierre's touchdown run, for instance, is, there's obviously the significance of the touchdown is important, but the means and how you score can give you that momentum, and the offensive linemen, the tight ends, everyone involved in the blocking pattern scheme of it, feel that, and that's always just as a 4th and 1 stop by your defense in a short yardage situation. When you're able to win that battle up front, you're generally going to win a lot of football games.
How valuable do you feel like Morstead has been this season? Obviously, he's played a major role in field position, that sort of thing.
He's been outstanding. He's having a Pro Bowl season. He's number one. He's an extremely good athlete. And you guys have seen him. He's tall. He's got great leg strength. His consistency this year has been fantastic, and that's been the one thing is we've all seen him develop from his rookie year, as a 5th-round draft pick to where he's at now. Each year there's been a steady progress, and there's been improvement. But he's very detailed in what he does, and when you're in, and I'm not sure if we're first, second, or third, but when you're in the top 5 in the league and your punt coverage, it just establishes that the importance of that field position, and trying to play. The old adage is you want to be playing the game on their end of the field, and then when mistakes are made, they're magnified when they happen on their end of the field, and he's allowed us to do that a lot this year and on a very consistent basis.
Did David Thomas's return contribute at all to the running game?
Sure did. You didn't see the numbers in the passing game, but once again, when we talk about David, the instincts he has, he plays with very good leverage, and when you game plan, and you've heard me say this before, you know exactly what you have in the player, and he's one of those guys that when the tape's graded out, always seems to grade out very high. He's very smart, and having him back in the lineup is a plus for us. It gives us some versatility in regards to our personnel groupings. When you add another tight end / F-back, there are just a number of things we can do that can help Jimmy Graham and help John Gilmore, and we were able to get to some of those things yesterday.
Because he's so multifaceted, Darren Sproles, how does he open up options for other people in offense?
Well, in a number of ways. I think first, the spread set running game, which we don't just feature with him, but he's a part of just as a running back. In space, he's very difficult to handle. He's got very good burst and acceleration. You know, he doesn't really. He's not slow through a hole. I think everyone who's watched him, you know, he'll hit a hole very quickly, and you know that element as to how you're going to defend him, not just in the running game, but how you're going to defend him as it pertains to some throws. Yesterday, you know, we had some matchups where he was isolated on a linebacker, and just a simple wide route, you know, a swing route, instead of being 3 or 4 yards, was, you know, 10 to 12 yards. So there's a lot of pressure it puts on the defense when you have someone with his skill set that can play at the H, that can go in with Pierre as well. And now, you know, you decide whether you're going to play it in a nickel and cover him with a DB. I mean, there's a lot of flexibility you have with a player like that. And I think that it puts a lot of pressure on the defense to decide within each personnel grouping, are they going to cover down in their man coverages with a nickel, with a linebacker. So there's stress involved there, and he's really really adjusted well and played a big role for us yesterday.
Sean, you made yesterday a bad game. Obviously, looking for the physical presence. How do you carry that over to this next week against Atlanta?
Well, I think, you know, I think our players understand that this month, you know, the month of November and the divisional games, and you know, purposely, I think you've seen the league schedule more of these division games later in the schedule, and I think it's been great for the fans and for everyone following the game. But playing well in this month, the month of November and December, is very important. Atlanta's a very good football team. They won our division a year ago. They had a big win yesterday on the road, and you know, we have a lot of respect for and understand the challenges they present. So, you know, again, the weekly challenge for us is the process of looking at the tape and getting guys treated from the prior game, getting them healthy, and then turning that page, if you will, Tuesday, and then completely then as we focus when we get to Wednesday's practice. And we're kind of in that process right now. But, again, another division game and against a very good team.
Is it out of the realm of possibility that you would need another kind of something like a bat, some kind of?
Yeah, I don't. You know, that was unique, and we just, you know, we just felt like it made sense with this home game, especially with the way the first game kind of unfolded. You know, we became the team that was a little bit more one-dimensional in the second half, and we became the team that was hurried at quarterback, and we didn't have the rushing numbers we wanted, and defensively the same way. And so that game yesterday, it made a lot of sense for us. And like I said, afterwards, it was the first time we'd ever done it with a divisional opponent, and we wouldn't do that this upcoming week. I think ultimately the details in what you're doing and how you prepare begin, you know, on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and that leads to, you know, having your best opportunity to play well Sunday.
How did your linebacking core look without Vilma in the game? I know it's the second time.
I think very good. I think Jolan played very well, and he did a great job. You know, aside from the physical presence of a player like John who's not playing, you know, really the signal caller is changing, and so the plays are sent into Jolan's helmet. I think he did a great job getting us lined up. You know, he made a few checks to get us in and out of certain defenses based on what he saw the offense doing, and I was real pleased and encouraged, and that was very important. You know, when you lose a guy and you don't play a guy like John Vilma, there's a lot more to it than just the Mike linebacker. But I thought the other guys stepped it up.
How much has he grown as a player? Because he's had his chances to, you know, win a starting job, and he's kind of been a backup.
Yeah, I mean, he's you know, I wouldn't make the comparison to Zach Strief, but you would say that he's had probably more starts than Zach. I mean, they're two totally different positions, and yet he's been part of the program, and he's played predominant special teams role some weeks. He's played and started a lot of games for us at the Sam. He played at the Mike yesterday, and once again, there's a player that knows what he is and works extremely hard at his job, and that gives him a chance. And certainly that spark he played with yesterday and that intensity, I think carried over to the whole defense.
Speaking of Shreve, how much of an impact did his return have on your offensive line?
Well, it was real positive. He, coming off his first game, there weren't any nicks or I'm sure he's somewhat sore, but he graded out well and was very very efficient. I think both our tackles knew that they had some big challenges with Tampa's front in their ends. And I thought overall up front we did a very good job, not just at the tackle position, but all across the board, both in the run and the pass game.
Concerned with Drew sliding head first as he has?
That was a little uniquely different, I guess. He's athletic enough and smart enough to understand what he's trying to do, and he made a big play yesterday in that big gain in that final drive. We got a snap of 2-man or 22-man basically, which is 2 deep safeties, man underneath, and there's this instinctual aspect with that coverage. If there's no one open, the challenge defensively is if the quarterback ever decides to take off, all eyes of the defense, aside from the defenders, are on receivers and their back is towards the quarterback, and so you can end up with big plays like that. And so it was a coverage that we've seen Tampa run before. It's something that they're pretty good at, and to Drew's credit, he climbed the pocket and felt the crease, and that was a huge conversion for us, both from a time standpoint and leading to what ended up being a field goal that really changed kind of the makeup of the very end of that game. But he's smart enough and athletic enough, but that one specific play was, I think all of us were expecting the slide, and then it was head first. So, he's pretty good at handling that, and so it's something that I won't overcoach.
Sean, you said after the game last night that you thought you did a very good job of keeping the plays in front of you defensively, and when you see a guy like Jones having that breakout game like he did yesterday, I guess that'll be a premium Sunday. What does a guy like that do? Are you find yourself more in like a prevent kind of defense?
Well, it's not necessarily a prevent style of defense, which really would be more of a 3-man rush, but it is an understanding of the splits the receivers take, the routes that are designed to get behind both either the corner end or the safety. Every week teams go into games no different than us, where you have your intermediate or your underneath throws, and then there's half a dozen 8 throws that are intended really to get behind a safety or a corner, and so it just forces you to be disciplined and really pay attention to formation keys, split keys by receivers that might lead you to believe it's going to be a shot play. We had a couple shot plays yesterday, and I think every team that has success offensively generally puts those into the plan, a lot of times into the opening series of plays, maybe to get behind the defense to soften them up. So I just saw some of the highlights, and certainly he's a talented receiver along with their other weapons there in Rowdy White and Gonzalez, and there's a number of guys that you've got to account for, and you have to force yourself to have that discipline and understand within each framework of each coverage, how do you handle the vertical throws.
I don't know how candid you can be about this, but the penalty on Lee Torrance and the one on Will Smith.
Oh, I probably can't be as candid as I'd like. Look, I think overall that the crew worked their tail off and did a good job, and yet there's some calls that don't go your way. There's some calls that do go your way. Just the one offsides really where we were called defensively, and clearly the tackle moved, and maybe sometimes you just miss that, and I understand that. The one that was disappointing was at the very end where Devery does a great job. I mean, I think a textbook job of really blocking on the perimeter. He's probably our best blocker as a receiver, and springs Darren for what's going to be our last play on offense, and it comes back. But really, each week those are going to come up, and you just hope that you get a few of them that go in your way, and you get a few of them maybe that don't, and it's no different from the players' element, where there's oftentimes mistakes and you keep playing, and no different from the coaching standpoint. There's things that I do each week throughout the framework of the game or during the week that are mistakes. It's no different for those guys that have a tough job, and you just hope that it balances out.
You mentioned that sometimes the manner of the run can have a big boost as much as the stop on 4th and 2. Did you see a lot of that yesterday? I guess those runs where, these guys are fighting for those extra yards that kind of
Absolutely.
got them juiced up.
There's no question. There's an effect of being able to run the ball, or there's an effect just from watching a game as a team on the sideline, in having done this long enough, when teams are having success running the football against you, and it's 2nd and 2 and 2nd and 4, and that has an effect on your team in a negative way. And when you're the team that's having that success defending the run and being able to run the football, that's important.
You mentioned Gonzalez, Sean, and obviously a player of that caliber is going to make some plays. Sometimes you got to tip
Yep.
your hat to the other guy, but especially when they came here last year, he gave Roman fits the whole night. Do you go into a game then thinking, okay, we got to give 41 some help on the tight end?
I think you go in with mixed looks. I think you don't want to, Jim, have just one way specifically you're going to defend him. The challenge he presents is his ability really to position himself opposite the squeeze of the defender. In other words, no different than if you were playing basketball and you took a post position and then left yourself this opposite shoulder away from the defender to catch a football. He's very good at that, and so the coverage can be correct and the coverage can be good, and yet Matt Ryan's an accurate enough quarterback where he can locate that away from the squeeze. You see them do that all the time. Tony's got great presence and savvy, and that route awareness that he has served him well over the years. And so I think, to answer your question, I think you have to have a handful or a different set of ways that you can account or cover him, and not always just the safety. There'll be times it will be a linebacker, maybe a nickel, but your challenge always is the size matchup. The same thing that we get with Jimmy. At times, you think, well, a corner's on him. That's a better pass defender, but the problem sometimes is just the stature from a size standpoint, and the length of arms and the height and all those things that go into covering a bigger target like that. And so, he's been a handful every year we play him.
You listen to Saints coach Sean Payton a lot at press conference here on WB.
Thank you, man.